2019-2020 district budget drivers discussion.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Kierkegaard. I appreciate the opportunity to share some information. The district has a long history here of being able to have this discussion, make sure that we're meeting objectives and goals. And there it is. Whew. This is the worst part of the evening, the stress of getting a PowerPoint presentation. This admittedly, and I do want to reassure you, so I will be bringing forward a budget this next Monday evening, the 17th. We will not be setting the levy, we will not be finalizing the mill rate, anything like that. With that being said though, that takes place, we have a meeting in September. We will have the final budget and levy documents that will be approved in October, at the end of October. So there's still plenty of time, though I do believe that we'll be able to incorporate any discussion or any wishes of the board this evening into future budgets. So just a little bit of this. So I presented information back on March 18th. Things were very preliminary at that point in time. They are still fairly preliminary, but we do have additional information, new information that we're working with, and again, incorporating accordingly. This is really a strategic, and that's these budget drivers and what they do in meeting our objectives and the goals. So it's very strategic as a follow-up to the meeting that we had back in March. In future years, we will be following a little bit more strict timeline. And really, these are drivers or variables that help influence. We will communicate, share back and forth this evening. We will discuss, I will listen, and then again, in future opportunities, I will incorporate these types of discussions, incorporate that into future budget documents accordingly. So like I said, still very preliminary. In fact, there's almost daily information. In fact, Superintendent Kierkegaard checked in with me this morning and said, hey, there might be some things finalized by week's end. Highly possible, we don't know yet, and I will discuss a little bit of that here in just a second, but we will act on information as it becomes concrete and usable information. We don't know, but we need to be patient. That's not untypical, that's double negative on purpose. It is very normal to be at this point right now with a biennial budget and people politicking and strategizing in Madison. And as I mentioned, we will recommend to continue the budget process. We've historically done this. There are steps, and I will share those at the end of the presentation, but we'll make sure that we do follow that process, our due diligence, in making sure that we bring back a solid budget during those strategic times in both September as well as October. Just a little bit of an update on revenues. So quite often what I'll say is the words that are assembled and approved in Madison, quite often that relates to not always new monies, but just changes in revenue, kind of following those monies and understanding where they are. Like I said, almost daily communication between lobbyists, some of my colleagues are professional organizations and those individuals, so we're trying to understand what that means, and again, trying to be patient as those are finalized. It is a political struggle at this point in time. There's a lot of positioning and whatnot with that biennial budget. Just as an example, so about a month and a half ago, Governor Evers brought forward a $1.6 billion proposal, fairly public in that presentation. And here, just within the last few weeks, the GOP said, hey, 500 million, so they're fairly far apart at this point in time. And you know, we're competing with Medicaid dollars, with road needs and whatnot. But what the GOP essentially said is, we're gonna be completed here fairly soon, and then we're gonna hand it off, and we're gonna be done and walk away. It's a good offer, please take it. You should really consider taking this. So that's where they're at right now, and that kind of relates to what Superintendent Kierkegaard heard this morning, is that they might even be a little bit more ahead of schedule from that June 30th information that I received a couple weeks ago. Again, largely unknown. This is typical right now. So just as an example, so the GOP, and this is based off of their proposal, they're talking about a $200 per student revenue limit increase. And when we multiply that $200 in year one, they're talking about $204 in year two of the budget, but $200 multiplied by 6,500 kids, we're talking about $1.3 million, just approximate revenue, new revenue. They're also talking about a categorical aid, so all of the salaries and benefits for special education licensed individuals right now we would receive money next year. Currently, the rate's at 24.5% of those wages and benefits. They're talking about increasing that by 2 or 3%, translates to about $300,000. So I've seen better years. This is conservative. It's possible that it might get a little bit better than this, but right now we're estimating on the conservative side potentially $1.6 million of new revenues. Okay. So as we start looking on the expenditure side, and again, we're waiting and being patient on making decisions, but these are some things that have taken place and that we're anticipating. So staffing adjustments for 19-20, based on this current year, 18-19's deficit, we've already made staffing adjustments to make sure that we have the ability to bring forward a balanced budget next year. That's largely been done at this point in time. We do have a teacher framework for initial teachers as they progress through a 3-year tenure in the district. And that increase from this year to next year translates to about a $200,000 to $300,000 increase that's being finalized right now. And then additionally, and this has been it's a state number that's released, calculated and released at the 19-20 Consumer Price Index, or a COLA, if you will. It's been finalized at 2.44%. You know, often I think that's not necessarily just a wage increase. That is supposed to be incorporated in anything just health insurance driven as well. And I will talk about health insurance in just a minute, but often it's referred to as a salary type increase, but we need to keep that in mind. And then as well, the new teacher compensation plan, that's still being discussed. I believe it's either tonight or next week, but it's not yet finalized, and we're trying to make sure that we stay patient and we make a decision that will be a long-term decision that will allow us to have a sustainable future with that compensation for that big pool of staff. Very important topic. Health insurance. We are trending, historically, we've been trending at about 8%. We had a meeting last week with Willis, our benefit consultants, and they said you're trending this year so far at about a 10%. So I gave a range of about 800 to 1,000, 800,000 to $1 million. So that's what we're looking at without a plan design. And if that trend continues, we have a renewal in January, but that trend continues, we need to pencil in about $1 million for our health insurance this next year. Another benefit, and this is not untypical at all, dental is trending at a 0% increase. We are self-insured on dental, just like we are with our health insurance, but it's been performing fairly well for the last year. It's a fairly static number as people receive that benefit. We're taking a look at our other post-employment benefits. We're costing it out, so we're understanding what that looks like now that we have our retiree list, and making sure that we identify monies available for that benefit. Right now, it's still that first group, like our tier 1 group of people that are entitled to that benefit, and we will make sure that we reflect that in the budget accordingly. If you do have any questions or any discussion at any point in time, please ask. A few other, so we talked about salaries and benefits, large majority of our expenditures, but some of the other types of things. So as we looked at our allocations to schools and departments for 2019-20, we've held those allocations flat. That process is underway. Administration will review those requests, approve budgets accordingly, and we will bring that forward for formal approval in the near future. We've been studying community service funds. So our Fund 80, it's a levy outside, what I call it is anything outside of a typical school day. So before or after school, during school, but untypical type activity. We've been levying money, and this is something that we have to publicly disclose at our September annual budget hearing. But we disclose all of the items that are in that activity. And really what it is middle school sports. We allow anybody to come, any age-appropriate individuals to participate in our middle school sports programs. Any of our community groups that we have that fall under a certain tier for rental of our facilities, where we waive those fees. Additionally, in just doing a little bit of research in previous districts, we do have the ability to expand this slightly, taking a look at our school resource officers and allowing them the ability to not just act as police officers, but have them be a little bit more proactive, work with our students in those types of activities. We can code Fund 80, our resource officers to Fund 80. We can expand some of our before and after school programming with some of our school partners, such as the city, the Y, the Boys and Girls Clubs, take a look at some of these supplemental programs that actually enhance our learning process. I think that those are some of the ideas that we need to consider with Fund 80. And then as well, as we take a look, and Dave Ross told me, don't put utilities up, but we never know what's gonna happen with utilities. I like to budget. If I have just a little bit of a cushion, I take a look at utilities, because we might have a really cold winter and a really hot spring and fall. Utilities are somewhere that I just don't wanna get caught being short. Transportation, some of these other areas like our district insurance, not our health and benefits side, but our district insurance, we need to make sure that we budget accordingly. There's a lot of expenditures that are going up. I spoke with Tim Harder in technology and the tariffs. We're starting to actually feel that, where devices are being coming to us $5, $10, $20 higher than what they were. Bids or quotes that we receive are good only for several days rather than 30, 60, 90 days, just because of the fluctuations in pricing. So we need to budget accordingly